Welcome to Thrive. I'm your host, Karli Heinjus. I'm a manifestation, mindset, and empowerment coach, a free spirit, digital nomad, and a big ass dreamer. This podcast is a space for you to dream big, to create the free spirited, authentic life and purpose that you desire so that you can thrive in your life unapologetically. These episodes will give you a glimpse into my life working as a coach and mentor while traveling Australia in my caravan and inspire you to connect with and to create your own version of freedom. I'm an NLP master practitioner, mum of a fierce little Taurus girl, a rule breaker, your biggest cheerleader, and I believe that anything is possible. I'm so excited to share the magic of this episode with you, so thanks for listening and let's dive in. Good morning, guys. Oh, it's afternoon, actually. Welcome to another episode of Thrive. I'm your host, Karli, and today I'm going to talk all about beliefs. I want to talk about how you can actually start to shift the beliefs that are holding you back, okay? Because we talk a lot about we talk a lot about the fact that you need to start shifting your subconscious beliefs. You need to start identifying them, understanding what those really, really deep core beliefs are that you have. And you need to start to shift those in order to start manifesting and creating the life that you really desire. Okay, we talk a lot about that, but a lot of people ask, how do I do it? Like, what is the first step to changing this stuff? Right? And let's assume that you have already got a bit of an idea about what the beliefs are that are holding you back. Okay, so we're going to start from there. You've already identified the beliefs that are holding you back. How the heck can you shift them? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And I tell you what, I have personally shifted some doozies, okay? Myself, for my clients, I've been told that I am one of the best timeline practitioners that a couple of my clients have ever worked with. And I say that really, really proudly because I know that work is really, really bloody powerful. So if you want to know more about how I can help you shifting some of your beliefs, just drop me a DM. You know where to find me on Instagram at Karli Heinjus. But for now, let's talk a little bit about, you know what? I'm going to share with you a couple of the beliefs that I've shifted for myself. And I think we actually start to realize that it is a belief that needs shifting when you look around at your life and you look around and you go, holy shit, I'm not living the life of my dreams yet. Or holy shit, I keep attracting this particular experience that I don't enjoy into my life. How am I doing that? That tends to be the thing that prompts us to actually look at, what it is that we believe about ourselves. And the thing with beliefs, guys, is that they're not true. Okay? They are simply a thought that we've thought over and over and over again, and we have assumed to be true. And what happens when we assume something to be true is that we create it in our physical reality, okay? And that's exactly how we manifest the things that we want, okay? As we assume that they're true, we assume and we act and we be as though we already have those things, right? So this is where it's kind of important to shift the shitty beliefs that we've got, because if we don't shift those beliefs, then they are going to be that barrier, right? They're going to be like that blockade to actually creating the life that we want. And, sometimes temporarily we can kind of climb over those barriers. We can kind of, work our way around those beliefs. But this way of doing things tends to be pretty short-lived, right? Like, it's like you might attract something into your life and it lasts only for a short period of time. So if you find that's happening to you as well, like maybe you manifest the things that you want, but then you lose them or they disappear, then that could be an indication that you're kind of trying to bypass the belief work and that you've still got some deep things that you need to work through. Okay. And I'll tell you that this is one of the things that I tried to do, particularly before I went into the world of NLP, because I'm a master NLP practitioner now, and that really opened up my eyes to like what I was believing. And before that I was kind of had these gut feelings that I had some stuff to work through, but I didn't really want to look at it. And I just kind of thought, well, if I just keep showing up and I keep taking action, then surely I'll get to where I want to be. And it's not to say that you won't get to where you want to be if you do it that way. But, you know, there's definitely a shortcut, right? And the shortcut is shifting your beliefs and creating more empowering beliefs so that you can get there a bit quicker, if that is, of course, what you want, and get there a little bit more, you know, like you're enjoying the process and you're enjoying the journey a lot more. Because what I was finding is earlier on, you know, particularly like in my business, and I use the example of my business a lot because the first year or so was really challenging, and I just thought that if I just kept moving and kept taking action, that things would just start to work in my business. But what that led to was me burning myself the fuck out and starting to feel like I was resenting, you know, doing my work and all of these things. So that trying to bypass the belief work really didn't help me, not even a little bit. But, you know, I know when it comes to our beliefs that it can be a bit confronting, right? And if you feel like you're a little bit confronted by what you could possibly have as a core belief about yourself and about the world, then know that I see you and I fully feel you on that, because I have been there too. And it just kind of, as I said before, it just kind of felt like it would be easier to just kind of try and go around it rather than to feel all the things, right? Because who wants to sit in their shadows and feel, you know, all of the things that they, you know, witness all of the things that they think about themselves when they're not of a, you know, bright, shining light nature, right? No one really wants to do that, okay? But the difference is that knowing that that is going to be the catalyst to creating the life that you want to create and to actually start to manifest the things into your life that you want to experience and do and be, okay? So as I said before, right, a belief is just simply a thought that you've accepted as being true, right? So it's not actually true. And, you know, when I realized this, I was kind of like, oh, well, of course that makes sense. But the penny didn't drop right at the beginning, because when you're in your beliefs and when you're like feeling your beliefs and you are constantly replaying, you know, scenarios and scenes from your past and the days leading up, it becomes really fucking real, right? Like you're in it and it feels like it is really, really real, really. And so it's, you know, it took a little while for the penny to drop for me that they're not actually real. And I think it was when I was in my NLP practitioner course, Paul, the instructor, or maybe it was Julia, either way, one of them said, you know, can you show me your belief? Like, can you put it into a box and show it to me? And that's where I was like, it's not real. It's actually not real. It's been created by my mind, you know, and of course our beliefs, our belief system is generally developed between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, right? We accept everything that we're told and all of the things that we see, whatever we observe, all of the societal conditioning and programming. We see all that, we hear all that, we witness it all, and we accept it to be true because we don't know that it's not. And then we go through our life and because our subconscious mind is like a sponge between those years, right? We soak it all up and that stuff stays with us. It stays with us and we live our lives believing that all of these things and these ways of being are true until we get to a point where we're like, holy fuck, this isn't serving me anymore. And now I understand that I can change this and I'm going to choose to change it, right? And an example of beliefs and you know, like things that we see as a child, things that we hear, for a lot of people, money is a really, really big one. For a lot of people, they hear their parents saying things like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford to buy that today, put it back. Or, you know, then we hear them say things like, rich people are snobs, or people with lots of money are bad people, right? And what this does is this soaks into our being, this soaks into like every single cell of our body, and we believe that to be true, and we then identify with that. So then when we get to an age where we're like, you know what, I want to start making more money, the conscious mind is telling us, like is telling you, I want to make more money, but the subconscious is going to try and keep you safe. And the program that's operating in the background could be things like, well, money doesn't grow on trees, so that's not going to be easy for you. And hey, don't forget that rich people are bad people, rich people are snobs, so you don't want to make too much money, right? And then that's going to lead ultimately to self-sabotage without even knowing what's going on. Until we get to the point where we're like, all right, you know what, I'm going to dive in and kind of start to understand why it is that I can't create the things that I'm really, really wanting to create, because consciously I want them. Right? Consciously, of course, we want these things, but our subconscious mind, and the role of the subconscious mind is to keep us safe. And there was a time, and there are still certain times, you know, that is very useful. Okay? It's like when you go to cross a road, subconsciously, you will check before you run out onto the road. Okay? Because you have learned over and over again, you check for cars before you're running out onto the road. Okay, whereas if we didn't have that system, then we would just be like running out in front of cars, getting, you know, smashed up all the time, right? So it is actually a really useful thing. But when it comes to wanting to create something new in your life, it's not all that useful. Another example is when it comes to health and when it comes to, you know, losing weight or dropping fat off of your body, right? You might be sitting there and it's Monday morning and you're like, you know what, this week is going to be different. This week's going to be different. I've got my food all prepped and I've got my gym membership ready and I'm going to go 5 days a week and I'm going to eat 6 more meals a day and it's going to be wicked. And all of a sudden, you know, you get through Monday, you get through Tuesday, and then Wednesday, you kind of, you know, starting to feel like this is feeling really tough, but I've got the willpower, I can keep going. And then it gets to Thursday and then it's Friday and everybody at work is talking about going for knockoff drinks. And you're like, yeah, fuck it, I may as well. And then a couple of espresso martinis later and then you're balls deep in a Domino's pizza at 4 a.m. on Heinley Street. Not talking from personal experience. But, you know, this is what happens because subconsciously there is a belief there, or there is a mechanism. There is something there that is your subconscious mind is trying to keep you safe from. And it believes that the way it is going to keep you safe is by setting you up to sabotage yourself. So this is why shifting our beliefs is so, so important. Another one which I just shared on my Instagram this morning, actually, very personal one for me, was when I was about 7 years old. I was sitting with my nan and she had a sewing machine. She used to make all her own clothes and everything. And she made my party dresses when I was a kid. And oh my gosh, she was just so wonderful with all of that stuff. And I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And I asked her, I was like, at school holidays, Nan, can we do some sewing together? I was so excited. And she's like, yep, let's make a coin purse. And of course, being the very strong-willed, determined young girl that I was back then, I was like, no, I want to do it. So I got her to show me how to use the machine and what to do to make sure I didn't sew over my fingers and all of that kind of stuff. And I made this little coin purse and I was so proud of it. And she was like, oh, Karli, that's just wonderful. Well done. And I was like, I'm going to go and show Pop. I'm going to go and show Poppy. And I, went out the back to where my Pop was all the time. And he's Italian, right? And he had this really thick Italian accent. And I showed him the coin purse and I was so excited to go and show him. I remember the feeling of being just oh my God, I want to show him. And I showed him and I said, Pop, look what I've made. Look what I've made. I've made a coin purse. And he looked at the coin purse and he looked at me and he said, not very good, eh? And I was just, oh my gosh, my heart absolutely sank. My heart sank. And I walked back to my nan and she was on the veranda and she's yelling at him saying, don't say that to her and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that's really all I remember. I just remember this feeling of my heart sinking and the meaning that I gave that particular experience was that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And so of course, being so young and everything impresses on the subconscious mind at that time, I carried that belief around for years, decades, right? I'm 38 years old now and I only really released it a couple of years ago. So I carried this belief around for nearly 30 years. And the impact of that was that I didn't want to try new things. Like I even remember at school, and I loved sport, right? Like I grew up being a footy fanatic, basketball fanatic, I loved sport. But I didn't want to go and do PE because I was afraid of not being good enough. So I would either just sit on the side, I'd be like, oh, I've got a sore ankle, or, I'm not feeling well, or I just wouldn't go, right? Whereas deep down, I was like, I wanted to be out there playing and doing all of these sports. And then as I got older, I would find myself in relationships that were not good for me. But because I had this belief that I'm not good enough, I thought that I had to hold on for dear life because I felt so lucky that this person had showed me enough interest to be with me, that I didn't possibly deserve anything better, and that I could not possibly have been good enough to create anything better. And that was a pattern that had repeated for me a number of times because I felt not good enough. Now, at the time when my pop said to me, that's not very good, hey, he didn't say that to me with the intention of me assigning a meaning to that statement that I wasn't good enough. Absolutely not. And this is one of the things that I think can be really empowering to believe, because if you're going to embark on doing this work, you might start to kind of like remember some of the things that people have said to you, people that you love, right, have said to you, and you might think, holy fuck, that was a really shitty thing to say, or that was a really shitty thing for me to see you do, or whatever. And the one thing that has helped me really become okay with that is just the knowing and the understanding that everybody is doing the best with what they've got. Okay? Everybody is doing the best with what they've got. Nobody, I hope not anyway, nobody goes out and sets out to create like a shitty belief system for their grandchild or their child. Okay? We're all just doing the best that we can. And, for someone like my pop, who grew up in Italy in a very, very different time, in a very, very different culture, he wouldn't have thought that what he said was going to have any impact, okay? So this is the thing. And the reason I say that is because I think that, when we open ourselves up to doing this kind of belief work and really trying to like understand where these beliefs have come from and start to shift them, just be really careful, I suppose, that you're not kind of like looking at people differently. You're not like looking at your parents differently, or, you're not kind of looking at them through the lens of, you bastards, I can't believe you did that to me. Okay, so I just wanted to say that, because I think that that's really important. And that's one of the NLP presuppositions is, that everyone is doing the best with what they've got. And I truly, truly, truly believe that. So yeah, that's a little bit about my own beliefs and why I believe that we need to shift the ones that are not serving you. So how do you do it? And I remember like being really early on in my personal development journey, and I was kind of like, opening myself up to this world of limiting beliefs and kind of realizing that, oh, okay, I can change them. They're not fixed. I can actually, create a different belief system for myself. One of the things that I found myself Googling all the time was how to change your limiting beliefs, or how to shift your belief system. Okay, so I just want to give you three of my favorite ways, three of the ways that I love to do belief work, so that it kind of makes it a little bit easier for you. So the first way is to introduce new thoughts using affirmations. Okay. Now, this can be really, really effective when you do it consistently and when you do it specifically to you. Okay. So I believe that, we can all go onto Google and we can type in affirmations for XYZ. Okay. But when you're choosing and creating your own affirmations, I would suggest just being really mindful that they do relate specifically to you. Okay. Obviously you can use like generic affirmations, but just make sure that they mean something to you, and make sure that you feel something when you say them, like you feel like that it resonates with you. Okay. Don't go using affirmations that somebody else has suggested for you purely because they've suggested it, but you don't feel like they resonate. okay? Like change them, create ones specifically for yourself. Like get a little bit creative. Go on to Google, of course, but then really like tailor it to you, okay? But there is obviously benefit in the more like generalized affirmations, like I am worthy, I am good enough, things like that. But don't feel like you can't expand on those to really get specific to your core belief that you're trying to change, okay? And I would also like have an understanding as to like, why am I trying to change this belief? Like where did this belief come from for me? And why do I want to change it? So start to look around at your life and be like, well, okay, I'm going to say that I want to say that I am worthy, and I want to change the belief of like, I want to change the belief that I'm not worthy to I am worthy. And I want my subconscious mind to accept that as true. And the reason that I want to change this is because I haven't been believing that I'm worthy of receiving money, or, I haven't been believing that I'm worthy of receiving love, XYZ. Okay. So make sure that there is some kind of a charge behind it. And then therefore, like you might then want to go, right, I am worthy of receiving money, or I am worthy of receiving and accepting love, like whatever it is specifically to you. Okay. So when it comes to creating a new story in your mind, like you've got to do this consistently. And like that doesn't mean that you have to, be doing it all day, every day, just saying those affirmations. But what it does mean is that you've got to look at the ways in which you are going to kind of like practice this. So the way that I practice this is I am very intent on listening to my inner dialogue. So let's just say that something comes up for me and I'm like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not good enough, for example. It's then your job to intercept that thought and to replace it with, no, of course I'm good enough. I'm good enough because I'm me. I'm good enough because I'm special, etc. Right? Whatever it is that resonates with you. So it's up to you to be really intent on intercepting those thoughts on a moment-to-moment basis. Right? Because it's one thing to kind of say your affirmations once a day and then expect things to change. But what are you doing for the other 23 hours and 59 minutes of the day? Is your mind just absolutely running riot in your head? Probably, yes. So if that's the case, we've got to get really good at actually starting to intercept those thoughts and replace them with new ones. And with repetition and with consistency, you will start to drown out the old thought and the old belief. Okay? So it's like, if you can imagine, I keep imagining this visual. It's like if you can imagine a jar and there's like a, like a little like pinch of dirt in the bottom of it, right? That's your core belief, the belief that says I'm not good enough. If you just keep filling it up with sand, right? Like a little scoop of sand for every time you say, I am good enough, I am good enough, I am good enough. Eventually, you're not going to be able to see that dirt anymore. It's going to be all beautiful, white, clear sand, okay? And that's your new belief. I am good enough. Okay, maybe I'll do a video with a visual on that, so stay tuned. So that's the first way. Now, the second way that I really like to do as well is to work through like proving the belief wrong. Okay, so when you've got your belief, right, the belief might be that it's hard to make money, right? I feel like it's really hard to make money. Once you've identified that that is your belief, what you can then start to do is write down all the evidence that goes against that belief. And you can, if you don't have evidence in your own life at the moment, well, you probably do. Like, you can think about all the times that you have walked along the road and you've picked up, like you found coins, right? That is making money. And that is an example of it being easy to make money, right? You can then look at other people who you see are making money and seem to be doing so easily, right? You can start to come up with all of these examples and all of these little pieces of evidence that can disprove your belief. And once you have disproven the belief, you'll notice that you'll start to feel something. You'll be like, oh yeah, fucking hell, it is actually a lot easier than I thought to make money, right? Then you need to create your new belief, right? And then work out, how am I going to remind myself of this belief? So again, you can do this in a similar way to using your affirmations, right? Making sure that you're intercepting. The other way that you can do it, and this also goes for the first way of shifting your beliefs as well, is you can record yourself saying your new beliefs, saying your new affirmations, and listen to them throughout the day. You can listen to them at night. Okay. Your subconscious mind is very, very receptive to hearing your own voice. Okay. And of course, you can write them down, you can journal on them, you can go on a scripting rampage, and you can rampage like all of the reasons why it's easy to make money. And yeah, go from there. So they are the first two ways that you can start to shift your beliefs in a really, really powerful way. But what I want to stress is that you've got to do this stuff consistently, okay? It's like, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? It's like anything. If you are not going to keep up doing the work, then eventually like your old belief system will just kind of kick back in, because that is what you know, right? That's what you've been operating with for the last 10, 20, 30, however many years. Okay, so keep up doing the consistent work and you will shift your beliefs. Now, the third way is to work with somebody who has experience in working with the subconscious mind and actually helping you to reprogram your beliefs in a really quick way, right? And this is what I was talking about before when I said timeline therapy. And, I was tooting my own horn and saying that I have been told that I'm one of the best timeline therapists because of the way that I operate and the way that I speak with my clients, okay? The way that I can communicate with them when I'm taking them back through their timeline to identify where the belief came from, and then when they're changing it. This is no doubt one of the most powerful ways to actually shift your beliefs for good. And what timeline therapy actually does is it aims to get to the root cause of the issue that you're experiencing. Okay, so whether that's a negative emotion that isn't serving you, or it's a belief or a decision that's limiting you in your life, it can help you to move through any of those blocks. Whether it's money, whether it's self-doubt, whether it's relationship patterns, all of those behaviors and the habits that are holding you back, right? So if you've ever set a goal before and you've not achieved it, like maybe there's some actions or inactions that have stopped you from doing what you need to do to achieve the goal, then timeline therapy can help you with that. Okay, timeline therapy works on changing the behavior at the unconscious level rather than at the conscious. So your conscious mind, which is the stuff that we're aware of, is only a very, very small part of your perception. Okay, it's like 17% of your perception, and that's made up of things like your willpower, how to set goals, and all of that stuff. Whereas the unconscious mind, it's like the remaining 83%, is the part of your body that drives things like your heartbeat, right? Blinking your eyes. You don't have to think about it, it just happens. And that's also where all of your automatic programs are stored, like you're driving, walking, getting out of bed in the morning, all the things that you do without even thinking, right? And that's because neurological pathways have been created over and over and over again until now it's automatic, right? And this part of your brain also holds things like your emotions, your beliefs, your habits, right? So if your conscious mind is only working for you at 17% of the time, and you're trying to make changes using your willpower, your subconscious mind and those patterns are always, always, always going to win. So when I say your subconscious mind and those patterns, I mean those beliefs that you're holding on to. That's always going to win. So when we're looking at creating change in our beliefs, it's really important to go below the surface, right? Your mind is like an iceberg. The very, very top, the stuff you can see, that's your conscious mind, but it's what's under the surface that makes the biggest impact. Okay, all of those deeper layers that help you to understand why you make the choices that you do and why things may not have worked for you in a certain area of your life up until now. So I think that timeline therapy, even hypnosis, they are some of the coolest ways to actually rewire your entire belief system, and to do it really easily as well. So that is a little bit about how to actually start to shift your beliefs. I really hope that this has been helpful for you. That was my intention, was to give you as much guidance and, practical tools that you can go and implement right now and begin to shift your own beliefs. And of course, if you do want some guidance and you do want some support around that, that's what I'm here for. So hit me up on Instagram at Karli Heinjus. Drop me a message. I've got one-to-one places open now if that is something that you're interested in, starting at $1,000 per month for Voxer and $2,000 per month for Voxer with 2 calls every month. So that is all I've got for you today. As I said, I really, really hope that this episode has been helpful for you. I would love to hear your key takeaways. Again, feel free to drop me a message or share it on your stories. I love seeing when you guys are sharing stuff from the podcast on your stories. So thank you again for listening. I love you. And until next time, you have fucking got this. Hey sister, thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, it would mean so much to me if you would head over to your podcast provider and leave me a 5-star review. This will help us to reach more incredible humans who want to thrive in their life and be unapologetic about it. If we're not friends yet, let's connect on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me at Karli Heinjus. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, you've got this.